We welcome Mr. Tariq in the CYG newsroom project of the CTBTO U2A. You remain the former head of the Verification and Security Policy IAEA. And you are also present at the Preparatory Commission for NPT Review Conference. So can you let us know that what was the outcome of this conference?
So the second session of the Preparatory Committee for the 2020 NPT Review Conference was held in Geneva last week of April, first week of May. At the Preparatory Committee, there were a lot of discussions on nuclear disarmament, dissatisfaction expressed by non-nuclear weapon states about the pace of nuclear disarmament. A lot of countries also were concerned about the lack of progress of entry into force of the CTBT. There was a lot of discussion on the Middle East nuclear weapon-free zone, again on which no progress has been made. So these discussions were summarized, but the states were not able to agree on an agreed outcome. So the chairman of the PrepCom forwarded his summary under his own authority. So next year will be the last session of the PrepCom, whose mandate is to agree on recommendations to the review conference. In the past, we have never been able to agree on recommendations to a review conference, so we do not expect that in 2019 we would be successful.
And what about the non-signatory and non-ratifying state that they want to use the IMS and IGS data? So was any debate on that issue?
No, there was no discussion on that issue. This issue has only come up here in Vienna at the Science and Diplomacy Symposium that we are now here at. But I was told that yesterday in the technical session, the Russian Federation in its statement raised the question about whether to continue to share IDC data with states that have signed but not ratified. And some people believe that this was their way of getting to the United States. So if this is true, then getting agreement by the CTBTO to provide data to non-signatories like Pakistan and India and North Korea, for that matter, probably would be very difficult, but it remains to be seen.
And how you are thinking about the future of the CTBTO treaty, it can be soon, because North Korea is now almost agreed to withdraw their nuclear program. So what you are expecting about it, when it can be into force fully?
So it's now been 22 years since the CTBT was signed in September 1996. We, as you know, have 8 remaining countries, of which 5 have signed but not ratified, and 3 have yet to sign. But each of these are unique in their security situation, so there is no solution of one size fits all. It is also not clear if any one of the 8 will ratify that the other 7 will follow. So we now have to deal with regional security situations, so Korean Peninsula for North Korea, South Asia for India and Pakistan, and the Middle East for Iran, Egypt, and Israel. And at the moment, nobody has any solutions. And with the renunciation of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action on Iran by the United States, the move of their embassy to Jerusalem has compounded problems in the Middle East. In South Asia, prospects for peace and dialogue between India and Pakistan is as remote as ever. Regarding North Korea, we are not sure whether this summit between President Trump and Kim Jong-un will take place. So at the moment, these are big question marks.
And recently, the U.S. withdraw from the Iran and P5+1 deal. So how it will gonna affect the Trump and the North Korea current summit?
Well, the North Koreans are very smart diplomatic operators. I'm sure they will have taken note that the United States withdrew unilaterally from an agreement that was sanctified by a UN Security Council resolution, 2231 in this case. So I think they will be looking for much firmer assurances from the United States that not only the current administration but future administrations would honor whatever agreement is reached between the United States and North Korea. But the US political system is such that no president can give a guarantee that their successor will honor agreements reached by their predecessor.
And many people are talking about as the now North Korea and South Korea are going to resolve their problems. So same what about the Pakistan and India? What can be the outline they can work and cooperate together to de-escalate the situation, and especially on their like nuclear or the missile program to go into the race?
So, well, between South Korea and North Korea, they do not have a territorial dispute. They have an agreed border, which is at the demilitarized zone. They need to conclude a peace treaty and then see where they go from there. But between India and Pakistan, you have the unresolved dispute over Kashmir. You have unresolved borders. There is a line of control in Kashmir over which there is a United Nations monitoring system. Both sides are accused of violating the ceasefire agreement. Even the international boundary sometimes is challenged by one side or the other. So until the core issue of Kashmir is resolved between India and Pakistan, nobody foresees any movement on nuclear issues between the two countries.
And both countries, Pakistan, India, like they always claim that their nuclear technology is indigenous and they want to be the part of the nuclear supply group. So what you comment, because you remain the part of these all the verification system, and so what is your perspective about that?
So there are 10 countries that develop nuclear weapons. No country developed a nuclear weapon capability indigenously. Every country that has made and tested nuclear weapons or made nuclear weapons and not tested them, like South Africa, have all benefited from foreign technology. Even the Manhattan Project was an international project. So even the very first nuclear weapons were not indigenous US weapons. So this argument that some countries' weapons are indigenous and other countries' weapons are not indigenous is a false argument. Every nuclear weapon state has received help and has given help to some other nuclear weapon program.
And recently, like the Saudi Arabia is going to like establish some like the nuclear power plant to meet their energy crisis. And same, the UAE has the agreement with the South Korea. So how you think like that this will start some new race in the Middle East, or they will going toward the safe? Because Saudi Arabia also said that if Iran started program, they will also start it. So how you like feel about that?
So the United Arab Emirates has a program of 4 nuclear power reactors built by the South Koreans. 2 of them are very nearly complete. The first nuclear power reactor will go online probably later this year. But in making their nuclear policy, the UAE set an example. They said that UAE will not enrich uranium and they will not reprocess plutonium, and they will buy the nuclear fuel for their nuclear power plants from the international market. The Saudis now, in response to the JCPOA and Iran continuing with uranium enrichment, have announced a plan for 16 nuclear power plants. But Saudi Arabia at the moment does not have a qualified nuclear workforce. It takes many years to qualify a nuclear workforce before you can build a power reactor. Also, Saudi Arabia is unwilling to give up on uranium enrichment and plutonium reprocessing, saying that if Iran hasn't given up, they will not give up. Also, Saudi Arabia has medium-range ballistic missiles supplied by China a few decades ago, which they have now modernized. So they have a delivery capability. So people are concerned that Saudi Arabia should be asked to follow the example of the UAE in saying that they will buy their nuclear fuel from the market and not do uranium enrichment and plutonium reprocessing. In order to make a weapon, you need uranium enrichment or plutonium reprocessing. Without the nuclear material, you cannot have a nuclear weapon.
So the last question, how you think about this youth initiative of the CTBTO, like how it's like affecting the atmosphere?
Well, I think this was a good idea by the Executive Secretary of the CTBTO, Dr. Lucina Zerbo, to bring in the new generation. Because the older generation of diplomats, they are stuck in their old arguments. But the idea is that with the younger generation, there can be dialogue between countries where there is no official dialogue, like between young Indians and young Pakistanis, young Egyptians and young Israelis, and so on. And that with the new generation can come new ideas, and the new generation can hopefully influence their parents and their seniors into looking at the old problems with a new lens. And by doing these types of interviews that we are doing, by writing your op-eds, it is also helping with public education in the publics of Pakistan and India who are badly informed. So if you can inform the public what is the CTBT, what are its benefits, why it is in the security interest of the country, that is also doing a very useful service for the CTBT.
Thank you, Mr. Tariq, for your time.
Thank you very much.